I am using AI to write a letter to you. If the letter says something offensive, then it's my job. I can't say, oh, no, this is the AI likha, right? If you go to this IRCTC website, there is this bot called Disha. On Disha, just try saying, मुझे दिल्ली से गाजियाबाद की कल दोपहर की टिकटें book करनी है. You can just, again, say it in Hindi, in English, in Gujarati, in many languages. Because I had a finance PhD, that expanded my role to be the chief analytics officer for investing. And they said, this idea is rejected. If you are doing something, it has to benefit the entire nation. Need for AI is something that people were already feeling, but they did not know the answer is AI.
AI is something that's taking away jobs. How does an individual react to it?
Dull, dangerous, drudgery are things where we should apply AI. Are you going to be on the side that is very high AI, so everything is automated? Are you going to be on the non-AI side? Happiness is still with you, but economically it will make a lot of difference. You need to go deeper into your own self to understand what to take out of the AI.
Thank you, ji, guys. Welcome to another episode. We have with us Dr. Preet Deep Singh. Sir, please introduce yourself.
So I'm Dr. Preet. I'm a finance PhD from IMA. And so I like to start with this joke saying that I have made so many mistakes that I am a mistake holder in the ecosystem. But I've had 2 startups, actually 2 that failed, 1 that worked, so 3 startups there. I'm a Delhi University grad, Hindu College, BA program. I wanted to do civil services at one point. I've been consulting for a very long time. KPMG, Ernst & Young, been with the government for almost 11, 12 years now. And yeah, I guess I was an RJ long ago, very long ago.
Okay.
Actually, I don't want to think how long ago, but yeah, that's it. Man.
Wonderful.
I teach artificial intelligence and emerging technologies at IIT Bombay and IIT Kanpur.
Fab. You're very well-rounded human being.
I am mostly just expanding in wherever there is space.
Me and RJ, who's now teaching AI at IIT Madras and IIT Bombay, I'll give you a high five.
Okay, thank you.
But to start the conversation, you've given me an overview about your career. Tell me what have been the most interesting roles, if you could talk about from whatever you mentioned till now.
Yeah, so most interesting roles. I don't know. I think every role was interesting. Every role. I was probably very lucky in that sense. I think in a startup you get a lot of liberty to create something.
Yep.
I think in other roles I had access to very, very smart people. I think in any setup where you have access to smart people, it becomes amazing and interesting. I've been blessed to have people to guide me on things and sometimes listen to bad ideas also. So I guess so for example, my Invest India stay, I had probably the world's best CEO. Deepak was amazing at everything. And so Deepak was also somebody with whom we would realize the impact of decisions a lot later. So he would there's this story that we tell people that when we were creating the Invest India office, like literally when we were doing okay, what paint will go on these walls, like at that point, Deepak insisted that we have a particular carpet. Okay. And now how hard can it be to pick a carpet, right? It'll probably take a day, a week, 2 weeks, like a month if it has to be imported. I think we spent about 4 to 6 months on just the carpet, right?
Great.
And a lot of people are like, no, just get this carpet. This is good. This is that. He's like, no, we're going to get it. We are like, okay. Now who's going to argue? He's the CEO. He's smart. He's also older to us. So, naturally also you're a little on the back foot. So they're like, okay, we're seeing it. Now we don't know what it is. Take care. The carpet came in. It was a nice carpet. It wasn't like, oh, it's a fuchsia pink or something. It was a good carpet, right? Nobody felt, why did we wait for 6
so
months
long
for this carpet, right?
Yeah.
This really high-ranking official from a country comes in, right? From a very powerful country comes in to our office. We all make an excellent presentation about this, about India, about economy, about investment, about, whatever macro stuff that all these senior people would like to hear.
Yeah.
And so this person gets up from his seat, bends down and says, this is great carpet.
Wow.
Right. And we realized that Deepak could foresee probably uh, 2 years into the future that, I am going to get so and so person in my office, and it might help at that point to have such sort of a carpet, and I want to do it. So, when you realize something after 2 years, that is when you start taking everything seriously. So even if we were to say कि इसका font size बढ़ा दो, we would say, oh, there's a reason. Right? We might be off many times, but for a lot of things, you had to wait until the shoe dropped on that. I think that made the Invest India stint very, very interesting. I had a wonderful mentor when I was at EY.
Mm.
Somebody who would always encourage us to work hard. Abhishek, he was also from IMA, and while Abhishek and I would discuss work at 2:30 a.m. And he was a crazy workaholic. He kept on telling us to not get sucked up into the system.
Oh,
He kept on saying, keep your sanity intact. He said, this place sucks you up. Make sure that you get out at the right time. Make sure that you're taking a conscious call. Don't do it for maybe just some bit of money. If you're not enjoying it, you're not going to grow in any case. Don't give up your family life on this, right? So it's so strange when you see somebody who's that senior, who's that powerful, and
tell you that.
it's in his interest to ensure that we continue working hard. He's telling you to do that. I think I've just been very lucky on that front. Very lucky on that front. So a lot of roles have been very fun.
I'm glad. And to bring that out, I think we rarely talk about jobs in association with mentors, but I'm glad that you think of it that way, that, they're glad that there have been those mentors to, for you to think that and say that. Secondly, brings about the element of how important a job is also from the mentor perspective in terms of who's guiding you and how they're guiding you, right? To get deeper into the role at Invest India, can you help us, build in that journey? So that's been a, larger, fairly large stint that you had at Invest India. Let's start with what you've been doing of late, leading the AI adoption charter within the government, and then probably we'll delve deeper.
So I think we'll have to go back. I'm thinking till where. So okay, so let's go back to where I'm in KPMG. So this is many years back. Okay,
Okay.
and I figured that I want to be the final authority on something, and so I'm a company secretary, and I was a company secretary back in 2010, I guess. Okay, maybe cut that part out. This is too old. But I also realized that while you may know a few things, you are not the last line on anything. You're not
Yeah.
the last word on anything, right? So I'm like, okay, so I attended this one event at some Delhi place. It was a company ICSI event that had the Financial Sector Regulatory Reforms Committee, some high-powered committee, I think chaired by the then finance minister or somebody. And so they had all handed us this nice booklet of everybody who was on the committee, right? So I saw the committee and I'm like, okay, who are these people? What do these people do? And I was enamored by their entire thing. So it turned out, I think there were 9 people or 8 people on the committee. 6 of them had a PhD, and I think three of them had a PhD from IMA, and one was teaching at IMA. Right. So for me, these two things really stood out. That there's a PhD and there's an IMA. So I'm like, okay, this is probably something that I would want to do. This is probably the route to get where I would want to get. Right. So they say that you never enter and exit your PhD program with the same topic. Right? It was broadly okay for me. My research interests were around corporate governance, around business, industry, governance, how government impacts businesses. And at that time, the whole World Bank ease of doing business thing was very big. So I got a call saying, why don't you look at ease of doing business also with us, and we're going to do more around it and this and that. And that's how I joined EY, Ernst and Young. Now the thing there was that of course Abhishek was a mentor, and whenever we would discuss things, Abhishek would be like, okay, this is coming up, do you have something on this, do you want to do this? And I had a friend in college, and long story, we were involved in supporting startups, right? We had our own startup that was just a consulting firm of sorts for startups. Nice. Because as a company secretary, what's very hard for an engineer is very easy for me. Like, for example, I don't think a lot of engineers know how to incorporate a company. Uh, Nothing to take away from them. I'm sure I don't know a lot of things, right? I don't think I can change a bulb. Not that many engineers can. But for them to be, and this is back in 2014, so this is before Startup India became anything. for them, basics of compliance were a big thing. For me, that was not, right? So I was able to help them, and we saw that there's a money making opportunity. We created that entire bit there. And uh, because I had that exposure in 2016 when startup related opportunities started coming up, and if I didn't have much on that, uh, I could fill in that space because I had some experience. So we started working around those. To the extent that I was practically leading multiple states and a few central level international engagements also for startups in EY, right? And while Abhishek was kind enough to say that he's my deputy, but I was, of course, much, much junior in the system to be getting all those opportunities. And I had gone to hire this one kid from Startup India, generally very, very positive person. We had worked together in Goa. He had come from Startup India. We were advising the government of Goa. And, we ended the conversation saying, let's work together. He's like, yeah, you send me your CV. So I thought this is some sort of, Gen Z culture that, he wants to see my CV before joining my team. I'm like, haha, okay. He's like, no, I'm serious. We're looking for a lead for Startup India. And so that was a major change because EY was a 8 days a week travel job. It was crazy travel, right? And this was suddenly a Delhi based thing. Delhi is where I'm from, so family's here. Delhi based thing with opportunity to create impact uh, and access to all states, union territories, and impacting policy. And so while I was during that entire period of that decision, I was invited, I think on behalf of government of Jharkhand or government of Chhattisgarh to PhD Chamber of Commerce, right? I think it's in Delhi itself, right? There's this big hall and they do some event, right? So for that event, I was on a panel and somebody was giving a keynote before me, and the keynote before me was just amazing. Like this guy was really, really good, right? And I was, of course, was listening to him intently because also I was to go up on the stage next. And I figured that, oh, this is a good person. I should work with this guy. I think he asked a question to the audience. I had answered that question. He came down and he's like, we should work together. And this person was Deepak Bagla and he was Invest India's CEO.
Oh,
right?
nice.
So for me, I think it was a sign. I'm like, the stars are aligning. This is probably where I would want to be.
Yeah.
Right. And I then just joined Startup India on a fancy. I stuck around, stayed at Startup India for a while. And from there on, actually, so I joined Startup India on 16th or 15th October 2018. And I met Palak, I think 3 days later. And I think we got married 5 months later. So
Damn.
because we got married, so I think a couple of more months later, then they had to move me to a different team because we couldn't be in the same team.
Yeah.
And that is also close to, I think, when Corona had come in. So the government was facing a lot of problems on the lockdown front, and suddenly the data analytics wing was required. And one of the things is that there are a lot of people in the government who understand data.
Yep.
Right? There are a lot of people who are able to do complicated stuff with data. Uh, but because I had a finance PhD and that taught me to work with very different sort of data sets together, coming to a conclusion. I think that was just an added skill set that I was also very keen to explore. I was also fresh. So that opportunity just landed up and I started supporting a lot more there. So that expanded my role to be the chief analytics officer for Investing. And we did a lot of work during the entire COVID process, during the nation rebuilding process. So one of our recommendations around this was, can we do something to boost local economy back up?
Yeah.
Right. And so the example that we had actually taken to a higher office was, why don't we look at, let's say, top 25, 30, 40 cities of the country? Honestly, because I don't know more city names. And, we'll just help these cities build up on what they're good at.
Yeah.
So you think of Surat, you're thinking of diamond, right? You think of Kolhapur, you think of Kolhapuri chappal. You think of Patiala, you're thinking of peg, but you're also probably thinking of Fulkari, right? So we created a list of all those. So we took the idea up and they said, this idea is rejected. If you are doing something, it has to benefit the entire nation. So either this 50 goes up to 750, which is the total number of districts, or you don't do this. And that is where one district, one product was born.
Yes.
And I think just for want of a better person, so soon they said, why don't you look at this also? So we tried to create that. I think the people who drove that with me, those people were just amazing. And I had probably the best team possible there. So much so that with their efforts, something that had an allocated budget of about 68 lakhs in the first year, in 2023-24, this is the FY that got completed this year. Uh, the budgetary allocation of one DC one product was around 6,000 crores. Okay. So we were able to create like something of much more value in the entire thing. And because we had to do everything for by the time I think 780 odd, 80, 84, 85 districts is currently the number. Assume it's 750, right? We had a team of 25, right? It wasn't humanly possible to have the same level of output by by different people for all the districts, and you can't be biased. You can't have disparity in this, right? Where are you from? Do you have like
I'm from Ludhiana.
from Ludhiana, right? So hosiery and bicycles, right?
Yeah.
So if I were, I am from Amritsar, right? If I am to give you a report on Punjab that has 7 pages on Amritsar and 2 pages on Ludhiana, the first thing you will realize is, array, somebody is not biased. Somebody is biased against us here. Why is this not the right? Now you do that on a scale of 750 on 36, right? You realize that anybody can feel bad. So we needed standardized output,
Yeah.
right? And each output would have different inputs, right? For example, in some cases, so Ludhiana, more industrial area, I think Amritsar was Papad Badiyan, right? Now for Ludhiana, what are the inputs I'll look at? I'll look at how far is it from the train station. I'll look at how many existing factories. I'd look at maybe availability of water, land, labor, right? Now, when I'm doing the same thing for Amritsar, I have a different set of inputs,
Yeah.
right? What that means is, irrespective of how much I try, I will not be able to produce the same quality output across, right?
Because the variables are also so different.
Yes, because the input variables are different, but the output will be judged by a very different lens, right? Maybe not by an export promotion lens, by just somebody who feels ki, oh, I am from this place. And something that we learned there, people have so strong affinity to where they once were born, or where their mother's from, or where where their school was, that they would want to, on the positive side, contribute for free. On the negative side, they would want to push more for that, right? So coincidentally, sometime around 22, I think September, October, uh, this is when the Newton model was announced. So Newton is not a very well-known model. I think it was Newton or it was Da Vinci. I think Da Vinci model. So OpenAI has been in existence for a very long time. The model 3.5 actually had a model 3, model 2.5, model 2, model 1.5 probably also, right? So sometime around the Da Vinci Newton time, we figured that this might be a way for us to get good content in a standardized format across 750 that nobody can question. Like there's no bias in the machine, at least that's what we thought, right? So in order to do what we were required to do at scale, we started experimenting a lot with AI. It just happened to coincide with the AI revolution that began November 22 with the 3.5 model being public, right? And then, of course, Model 4 came in and all these things came in. And because we had prior experience to experiment with these things, uh, people figured that we could help them out with those. We started training, our own Invest India folks. Then we started training a few government folks, a lot of high offices, different ministries, and those things just came up. So I think that became the impetus to create more value for the country out of this. Now that I'm saying it, it sounds like a series of coincidences rather than a planned outcome. But I think that's honestly how it was.
That's a way if you only join dots backwards.
Yeah, exactly. It only make sense backwards.
But so to just sum up this discussion, one district, one product में आपने achieve करने की कोशिश करी, let's say take a figure of 750 districts, you look at one product per district and you try and build, what are the steps involved? Was this just like an exercise where people are, how did you actually promote in evangelizing that product or marketing that product for exports, or was this just more like an informatory exercise where people say who want to import such stuff or people who want to consume. It's just a good way to market it. What was the outcomes that you've been able to achieve with this?
Sure. So the first was identifying the product, right? And uh, I think one of the things we realized early on was sitting in Delhi and identifying a product in Nainital is a bad idea. You might think that Nainital you want to take tourism, right? But it's possible that the people of Nainital feel that Apna art, which is a candle art that they do, Apna art is what they want to do. Nainital candles are also famous, but you probably have no exposure to it, right? Sitting here in Meghalaya, you probably want to sell rain. But turns out Meghalaya has actually the world's best turmeric. So turmeric is measured based on curcumin content. Curcumin is the active ingredient.
Okay.
The curcumin that you and I have is probably 3% curcumin. The turmeric there has 7+% curcumin, right? Which is like a big deal, right? So one, we figured we need to ask these people what these products are, right?
Yeah.
Second, we had to look at what are the impediments to these products.
Yeah.
So for example, I don't know if you know this coffee in India called Araku coffee, right? It was judged the world's best coffee, I think 3 years, 4 years back or something like that. It's really good coffee, right? I can't taste much, but people tell me it's amazing, right? So it's great coffee, right? Now, what was the impediment to Araku coffee? And we had to reach to the Indian missions in France, Indian missions in other parts of Europe, uh, to ask them, why don't we have more orders? Let's say we have X orders, why don't we have 2X orders, right? So they also started reaching out, and the way the government machinery comes together to support is just amazing, right? And they said that while we've not found any strong negative points, one complaint that came in was there is a muddy smell, right? Now, we don't understand what this means. Muddy smell could be ki dabba kharab hai, maybe, or I don't know what.
Could be anything.
I'm also thinking coffee is a plant, right? How is muddy smell a problem? Turned out that the muddy smell was there because apparently when you dry coffee beans, you need to either put it on a cemented platform or some sort of a tarpaulin sheet, right? Now they were actually drying it on the mud. So it's like, smoked flavor. So it had a mud smoked flavor, right? And apparently people don't like it. Uh, we reached out to the state government, the collector, they got a cemented floor made. This is hardly any intervention, right? The trick in this was finding out that this is the problem, right? The second is, of course, are there some people who want to do something but don't know how to do it, right? This is a much more common problem in smaller cities where the export ecosystem does not exist, right? Can we teach these people how to maybe export? Just this, you have this product, there is a buyer somewhere, can you do this, right? Of course, we did a few pilots by hand. We realized we need to democratize this.
Yep.
We again used a bit of AI, put data analytics, and we said, this is the world trade. This is India's trade, 8 digits. This is India's trade from each district, each state, each product to each place, right?
Wow.
So we had like a wonderful map. And we would tell people, we would actually just ask people to come in and write where they're from, what product, and they would get to know which are the world's top 10 countries importing that and where to import those from, right? It's possible that you are the one selling it and they're just reselling it or something like that, right? So you get that. So then you know that I need to look for customers in, let's say, Kuwait or Vietnam or US, or any of those places, right? So we democratize that part for them so they could do that. Then, of course, a lot of sensitization measures. So I think the policy assessment numbers for this were about 13x increase in export of ODOP products and about a 12x increase in number of exporters from target regions. So J&K actually the number went up almost 100x.
Wow.
Like J&K did not have as many exporters earlier, but that number ballooned like anything after the sensitization process. Because we did one more thing. We connected J&K with, so 2020 there was this Dubai Expo, right? Because of COVID, it was 2020 December to June 2021, right? So we actually connected J&K and Dubai. So one, of course, people got to know of the products, the opportunities. Second, they committed to a dedicated corridor for food that would come from J&K. So regular jo food aata hai, that goes through X amount of phytosanitary clearances. That is in line, but it takes time, right?
Okay.
J&K they had a dedicated channel, so things would go faster. So J&K walnuts are very famous, right? I think there's some other dry fruits. There's saffron, right? These things are very famous. So they had a dedicated corridor for that. So suddenly you see a highway and you see an increase of houses on both sides. So that's probably what we learned.
Wonderful, but that's कितनी ज़्यादा tangible growth है. That's what you've been able to achieve, right?
Yeah. We also don't have numbers, but there is a ODOP bazaar on Amazon, where you can buy an ODOP product from all these places. There is a ODOP section on GEM. GEM is government e-marketplace where all of government procures from. We had the entire G20. Every meeting in all the 255 cities in India, for every delegate, the gift was ODOP from that state.
Oh,
So what that means is that if you are, let's say, a health secretary from Belgium attending a meeting in, I don't know, in Kupwara, J&K, right, or Srinagar, or one of those places, you would probably get Ramban honey. You would probably get one of their, those flower oils that they have from that region, right? So you go home taking a piece of India,
yeah.
but the person who is in that state hosting that meeting actually also gets to show you their product. So I think those were things that were not so tangibly, it would probably be business worth less than 200 crores, right? But the sort of opportunity that the people got and what those people took back is something that they'll keep coming back for, because all of them had a story card. We realize our products don't have story cards, right? So we have a story card. So tomorrow, if they're doing business, we of course wouldn't get to know them, and we also don't want to get to know any such thing. But it actually helps India on an ongoing basis now. So that was actually something that we're very proud of.
Wonderful. Very interesting program to look at. How did the genesis come of this program?
We wanted to get back after COVID,
Ah,
and we asked for 50 cities. They said, no, not 50, do it for all. And this is how it came up.
perfect. So we've covered your story of being a part of the say Startup India program to you being associated with a program like ODOP, which has had so much impact. And I believe AI adoption in government is the journey that followed this, right?
Yeah.
So उसके बारे में भी थोड़ा बताओ what have been either key projects or just let's start with the stakeholders. Let's go macro. Let's go India lens. ठीक है. I am someone who doesn't understand कि AI और गवर्नमेंट में क्या हो रहा है. बिल्कुल ब्लैंक हूँ मैं. पहले अब मेरे को हेल्प करो समझने में कि स्टेक होल्डर्स कौन है जिनकी अकाउंटेबिलिटी है टू मेक श्योर दैट AI is being adopted because of course the needs been realized. There's no question कि AI implement करना है नहीं करना है. तो ए स्टेक होल्डर्स कौन से इन्वॉल्व हैं, फिर हाउ डू यू कम इनटू द पिक्चर?
Sure. So um, think of a government department as a place that writes a lot of letters, that gets a lot of letters. Okay. What do you write letters for? Where you request another department to do something for you, where you request your stakeholders to do something for you, where you request your internal stakeholders to act in a certain way, and you get letters from others saying the same thing. A department is also supposed to take care of what research is being published in their area. So, for example, if there is Department of Women and Child, they would want to know how India is performing across indices,
Yeah.
right? Or if there is a particular research around what some of our numbers are and what it could mean for India's future, right? Now, a department, as much as we want it to be great, is comprising of maybe 10, 15 officers and about 25 support staff. This is including everybody, right? So departments are actually very small. Some might be bigger, but most departments are very small, right? So right from drafting a press release to drafting a note for the minister to creating talking points to implementing schemes to handling public grievances to answering parliamentary questions, RTIs to coming up with new ideas, keeping a tab of research. This is a lot of work, a lot of work. Plus meetings, like a lot of meetings, right? So need for AI is something that people were already feeling, but they did not know the answer is AI. So they always knew that we need more intelligence in the system, that we need more hands in the system, and whatever.
Yeah.
Right? One of the things was, can we ensure that enough senior people know about this, right? And in that, what we figured was that while a lot of them have tried out a little bit of AI, they are unsure of whether it's going to lead to a problem later. Uh, should this be pushed around in the department? Should this be encouraged? Should this not? And what else can we do? So for example, Excel is a very simple tool, right? What do most people use Excel for? They would write 5 numbers and they would total it, right? You can create an entire calendar on Excel. You can create an entire game on Excel. You can create financial modeling on Excel, right? But what would that require? That requires you to add imagination, existing work, and then implement it, right? So if you see a financial model on Excel once, you will then probably try it out tomorrow, right? But if you've never seen it, you'll be like, yeah, I don't think this is really doable. Like for example, can you play games in Notepad? Just that Notepad where you write text. No. But if I were to show you a game, maybe next time you will try it out. Right? So I think one is sensitization, right? Second is responsible AI. And there's of course a macro level of ensuring it's not biased, it's not consuming a lot of energy. But maybe we should ensure that the accountability remains with the human. I am using AI to write a letter to you. If the letter says something offensive, then it's my job.
Absolutely.
I can't say, oh, no, this is
ASL
the AI likha, right? Can I ensure that I don't upload something that is private or confidential information, right? And there's this one joke that this officer told me. He said that there was this celebrity, almost celebrity person, um, who had, I think, 2 partners, right? So what they did was, they took their profiles, Insta, LinkedIn, whatever profiles, copy pasted on one of these tools, let's just say ChatGPT, and they pasted those and they said, I have 1 week free. Can you help me divide the time between my 2 partners? So ChatGPT, being a nice, good secretary like it is, said, okay, very good. Partner A likes this and this. Why don't you go to one of these beach countries and, after this have a nice dinner and do this? Partner B is a more mountain person, river person. Why don't you go trekking here and here, do this, do that? This person had an amazing life, wonderful life. They continued doing that, whenever this person would have time, it would just go to ChatGPT and get that through. Now, some months later, a journalist was looking up that celebrity, and journalist also asked ChatGPT. ChatGPT, being like the nice secretary it is, said this so and so person has 2 partners, partner A and partner B. So and so did this, so and so did that. I don't know if the celebrity currently has 2 partners, but this actually puts in perspective how data confidentiality becomes very, very prime, especially if you're working with unpublished price sensitive information. So I think that is another thing that we need to sensitize people on. Apart from potential and responsible use, I think everybody needs to know this before they get to regulate it, right? I think, Europe has tried to do something by saying, this is the regulation that will come in next year. And if there are changes, then we'll see what happens. US has said, we'll let things flow. Japan has said, this is not a copyright violation. I think before any country or any regime jumps into regulating AI, I think they themselves should know what it is, what sort of harms it can cause. That said, you also have a lot of AI use cases in the government. So, for example, if you see the Supreme Court website, and if you were to uh, look for a judgment, let's say there is a ruling that came out today. It's today, of course not, but maybe it came out yesterday. And you want to access it, right? So you are expecting an English document, right? You might know English, I might not know English, right? Will it be in Hindi? Yes. But doesn't India have many constitutional languages? Shouldn't it be in many? So you actually find every Supreme Court judgment in 19 languages within 24 hours of being uploaded. So which means if there's a judgment that came in yesterday morning, you can go to the Supreme Court website and get it, right?
Wow.
It's not humanly possible. So which means you use AI for that, right? Can you create systems where data sanctity is maintained? For example, if I want information around a certain government program, right? The department wants it, right? Can AI be fed all those documents relevant to that? And then the department can simply ask the bot and get those answers, right? So there are a lot of solutions like this. Could it be used in jurisprudence? So for example, there's this pilot that is being, actually, why am I talking about a pilot? If you go to this IRCTC website, right? There is this bot called Disha, right? हाँ, right? On Disha, just try saying कि मुझे दिल्ली से गाजियाबाद की कल दोपहर की टिकटें बुक करनी है, कल दोपहर की शाम की. It will show you some option. You can just again say it in Hindi, in English, in Gujarati, in many languages. कि ये वाली टिकट बुक कर दो. Of course, you'll have to be logged in and all those, but you can just do it using voice, right? Other Indian startup Core Over, amazing stuff that they're doing, right? They have a pilot in Samba district in J&K. So किसी के घर पे बच्चा उनकी बात नहीं सुन रहा, सड़क टूट गई, पानी नहीं आ रहा, पीपल गो टू द कलेक्टर्स ऑफिस. Collector is a human, single human, right? So they're saying, can we in some way automate this, right? Now, India is not a typing first nation. Second, everybody uses WhatsApp, but they use voice notes, right?
Yeah.
And in voice notes, we don't stick to a clear language.
Yeah.
So, for example, if we were to speak in Hindi, then Sachivalya is not as well understood as Secretariat.
Yeah.
Right? Which means you need to get vernacular and go to their dialect, right?
Yeah.
So what they've enabled is you can on WhatsApp, you can just say, I am from so and so place, I have this and this problem. It automatically characterizes that, puts it into a form. That form then can be processed onto dashboards for the collector, for other people, for the relevant department, and you can get an update, right? So you no longer need to go to a person to get something written in a form, right? You can simply do that. So once these things expand, so the problem that we had in ODOP, how do you cater to 750? Similarly, how do you cater to 1.4 billion? You need to actually use some sort of AI automation or machine learning to ensure that the fruits of that development reach to everybody, right? So I think that is the broad overview of this. There's of course the India AI mission, which has 7 wonderful pillars: responsible AI, application development, funding startups, general compute. You have the data office, and there are 2 more that I'm forgetting. But you've got AI guardrails and you've got AI incubators also. I guess one of those, right? So you've got a lot of effort on one side. You have a lot of use cases on the other. Now these just have to converge over the next 18 to 24 months.
Wonderful. And isme, how you been involved of late?
I am just a very small cog in the works. Yeah, I'm very small in this. My job is sometimes literally to translate between gov and tech. As simple as that. Somebody in gov says, "Is this possible?" Somebody in tech might answer, "Sir, अगर इसमें GPU लग जाएगा और फिर वो data server पे आ जाएगा तो my job is to say no." Right? My job is to actually translate between the two. It's as simple as that. It's just a wonderful field, and people have been kind. But I think I've just been a translator between the two.
So of course you being humble when you say that. Acha, tell me more about I read on your LinkedIn that taught, educated over, I think, 8,000 people in the government. What's that been around? How is, say I am that. I am one of those 8,000. What has our engagement been like?
Oh, wonderful. So there are 3 models. One is of course a smaller closed group intense session. One is a much more open session. The third is an online course, right? So government has their own Coursera. It's called Karam Yogi I Got platform,
Okay.
right? So it's for government officer training. It was for central, but now it's for state officials also, right? I have 5 courses on that. 3 of them are very top rated. 2 of them are recently uploaded. A number of people have done those courses. They're very small. They're about half an hour sort of courses. Overview of AI. What is prompt engineering like? What can you use it for? What is the meta AI bot and stuff? Then you have something that's more in person. For example, could a statistics department use AI for better research? ChatGPT has a wonderful code interpreter, which means it can run Python code. So what is it that data scientists dislike? One, they hate cleaning data, and every data is dirty, right? Second, they hate interpreting, actually narrating tables and graphs. What is narration? Narration is you see a graph that goes like 1, 2, 3. So you actually have to say, this is 1, this is how much it is, 2 is this much, 3 is this much, this is what it means, right? For a data scientist, this is total misuse of their time because they feel this is obvious. Why am I being asked to do this? You can simply take a picture, give it a style, and ask any of these AI assistants to write that narration for you. And you devote your time to something higher. For example, why or how does it change or what does it mean, right? So you devote your time to that. So you get together with a bunch of people to do that, right? Then you have something slightly intense. So we were training a very small police unit. So जब भी लड़ाई होती है तो you call PCR 112 and they come over and they do whatever, assuming that there's no serious harm anywhere.
Yeah.
What they'll do is they'll close the matter. Now to close the matter, what they need is they create something called as a panchnama, right? Now the panchnama is done by a guy called Munshiji. Munshi is not the highest or the lowest in the Thana. He's just somebody who knows how to write Hindi.
Yeah.
So one of the things we told them was, you all got WhatsApp on your phone. You've got the Meta bot on your WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Just click on the bot. The way you would say it to your Munshi ji, just say it to it, right? So they tried it out, and anybody could try it out. Just say कि मेरा नाम प्रीत दीप सिंह है, हम जगदीश जी के घर आए थे, इनकी किराएदार से लड़ाई हो गई थी, बलवंत राय जी उनका नाम है, अब इनकी सहमति हो गई है, हम यहाँ पे 3 लोग खड़े हैं, आज की दिनांक है 28 दिसंबर है. It will actually create a panchnama for you, right? What this does is it frees up the system of bottlenecks. The Munshi was a bottleneck. Munshi is unwell. How do you do panchnama? You need somebody else who टूटा फूटा करेगा, अगले दिन आके वो ठीक करेंगे, or there's a different shift or Munshi has to extend. Now Munshi is no longer a bottleneck. He might not like it now, but it empowers everybody to do that work, right?
श्योर यूज केस भी आपने एग्जांपल भी बता दिया कि इस तरीके से हम कर रहे हैं. गेटिंग टू अ career and jobs and labor market discussion, of course there's this narrative that, and there's a lot of truth to it. जैसे आपने बोला मुंशी जी की जॉब तो चली गई, है ना? ऐसे ऐसे बहुत सारी जॉब चली गई, है ना? But what do you have to say to that, to just that narrative कि यार AI is something that's taking away jobs? How does an individual react to it?
So we had these people called lift operators, right? Who would press that button on the lift, close the door, right?
And this part.
We don't have them anymore, right? Uh, about 30 odd years ago, we had a person in bowling alleys who would actually set up the pins, the
Yeah.
bottles. Somebody would do that. Now it's automated, right? Did it hurt them? Maybe. Was this a good job in the first place? I am not sure, right? Dull, dangerous, drudgery are things where we should apply AI, right? We free up human capital to do things they can do better. We free up humans to do better jobs, more jobs, right? So this is very similar to the whole textile loom thing, right? Hand versus machine loom. What will happen? One, it creates new jobs. Second, a few jobs that are so simple that a machine could do maybe should not be asked of a human in the first place, right? If it is just about giving humans good work, then I'm sure we can create more opportunities. AI will create more opportunities around that. In fact, on that, somebody was mentioning this to me. You employ one woman, you give 3 women employment, because then she's going to hire somebody to take care of the house and the children, right? So the trickle down effects of opening up the labor market are huge. And at a 1:3 sort of a ratio, I think AI is a very small enemy for us, right? We are our own enemies bigger than AI.
So, of course, matlab, the obvious answer then is that, of course, you'll always welcome automation or you'll always welcome intelligence and free up. जैसे वो हमने data scientists की problem discuss करी कि they want to do something higher, so let's make humans do something higher and probably remove those bottlenecks that are existing. I'll give you my example, ठीक है? And I want you to rate my AI implementation in my life and how you think.
How?
कल ने मेरे को बता ले तू मैं क्या.
Okay. Sorry, I thought.
So I work in a advisory firm, niche consulting firm, and वहाँ पे broadly मैं कैसे AI यूज़ कर रहा हूँ. A, in content, making that process seamless, making it more professional, just saying what I want to do, it does it for me. A, I'm doing that. Secondly, I have a problem. I use, say, ChatGPT for what it does think. मैं खुद के सोचने से भी पहले मेरे को एक प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट दी गई है. से वी नीड टू मेक एन इवेंट हैपन इन बॉम्बे इन मार्च. ठीक है, अब मेरे को देखना है एंड टू एंड उसको मैनेज करने के लिए कि क्या होटल में इसको करना है. व्हाट आर द बेस्ट, दिस इज माय बजट, हाउ डू आई लुक एट द बेस्ट पॉसिबल होटल. आई गो टू चैट जीपीटी एंड से दिस इज माय प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट, टेल मी हाउ डू आई गो अबाउट इट. देन आई विल प्रोबब्ली गेट डीपर कि ये कैसे बेटर है, वो कैसे बेटर है, मैं उसको अपने मैट्रिक्स दूंगा. सेकंड, so more or less, this is the way I utilize it in my work. I give it a broader problems to help me guide in terms of how I can strategize, maybe research ideas, etc. Second, अपना basic content जो मैं improve करवाता हूँ. Say when I'm writing emails, I'm creating a dossier or a document, whatever, right? In personal life, podcast I host, I use it for research. ठीक है. helps me with even ideas on who my guests can be who are located in Delhi, does that surfing over LinkedIn for itself, and I give it metrics that this is something that I want to achieve, helps me with that. Again, a lot on the content side. If say I'm studying for exam, मेरा पूरा स्टडी प्लान बनाओ जी, मेरे को ये मेरी वीकनेस है, ये मेरी स्ट्रेंथ्स है, ये पेपर एनालाइज करता है। आप पहले पेपर एनालाइज करो पिछले 10 साल के, उसमें ये फिगर आउट करो कि कौन से क्वेश्चन सबसे ज़्यादा हैं और मेरे को उसके हिसाब से स्टडी प्लान बना के दो, एटसेट्रा। Broadly, these are the things the way I am using AI in. Now, not literally say the rating, but how do you think or what do you think can be improved upon? And I would not try to restrict it to just me, but the message being, the idea being, on how can people leverage that, say, in their career growth, in their personal lives.
Right, right. So one, what are you doing with the extra time? If the answer is going to be infinite scroll, doom scroll, yeah, then you're doing it wrong. Then you might be better off researching it on by your own. If you are using it to, let's say, think of why does an event need to happen in Bombay, right, Mumbai. If you are using it for why do I need to study this? If you are using it for how do I empower more people to do it, right? Then it means you're doing a good job, right? And so there's this thing, right? Ki if you're so smart, why aren't you happy? So are you happy with it? If you're happy with it, I think you're good. You're good. If you don't think you need more hours in the day, I don't think you need to use AI.
Okay.
As simple as that. Then your life is already good. Yeah. Why are you trying to do something? Then it's just FOMO. Then you're being driven by ki, oh, I should also use it. Maybe I'll do this. No. If you don't have need for more hours or better outcome or better opportunities or something else, you don't need to use AI.
But let's assume that's a given. That's a given.
But you need all of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
कि जो सुन रहा है, that driven is very ambitious. That person's say wanting to get more hours to say think of higher things, to put simply. That can be very different in very different contexts.
Sure.
Let's take that assumption that yes, this individual is very driven, wants more hours. Now
Yeah.
what do now what do?
Now I think they're doing a good job. Now good. If you're using it for all this, good. So a lot of genie stories or any sort of Vardhan or Shrap stories will have a very common theme across the world, not just Indian, like not just this. Uh, Middle East is the whole Arabian Nights and US stories, monkey's paw, European stories, all these stories, they have a very common theme. The common theme is you land on to something magical, right? That will fulfill X number of wishes. Mostly 3, but X number of wishes. Okay. The first wish will be shallow, something that you really feel that you like, right? Make me pretty, make me rich, make me strong, make me powerful, make me whatever, right? So that's the first wish, right? The second wish will be to either exaggerate it or to somehow try to fight this and make it better, right? That's the second wish. The third wish is going to be, can we go back to state at T0, right? Most of these stories, Midas touch, right? Same story, exactly. You want to be rich, okay, yes, more gold, okay, I want this. And then he, of course, doesn't get to make it, but that's the third wish that he would have, that, I would get back out of it, right? And, there's this other saying, when God wants to punish you, it answers your prayers, right? If you are asking GPT to optimize something for you, are you very sure this is what you want? Right. And this is a question you need time to answer. So, GPT will not give you what you want. It will give you what you ask for. And there is a difference that we as humans sometimes ignore. This is the entire basis of all these genie stories, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to be able to write emails faster? I'm sure the shallow answer is yes, right? But is that what you want? Is there something else that you would want to do? Is like, are you looking for a career change? Are you looking for a promotion? Are you looking for something else? And if you have a few other such goals, use it to optimize those goals. What you'll need to do is you'll need to go deeper into your own self to understand what to take out of the AI. That's a slightly meta. I think a lot of us face the same thing where we optimize for the wrong thing. Elon Musk says you optimize for what shouldn't be there. So you keep thinking what size of the cup should there be, and then the answer is you don't need any water. something like that, right? So make sure that you are not just using AI for tactical purposes, but also for more strategic purposes. And please do something better in the time that you have.
Hmm. Which is a which is a very good point. कि कोई फायदा ही नहीं हुआ फिर उसके बाद
हाँ,
अगर मैंने वेस्ट उसको
हाँ,
स्क्रॉल ही करने मिला
हाँ, exactly.
makes sense makes sense. This is a good perspective. मतलब I honestly have been using it. I have had मतलब interactions with ChatGPT की you know basis my interactions career wise. I also just like as a mentor talk to like these are my ambitions, right? This is somebody that I want to be, right? Say I want to be an entrepreneur and I want to impact create impact also. मेरे को पॉडकास्ट भी बिल्ड करना है और ये सारी मेरे को चीज़ें करनी है, मेरे को एमबीए भी करना है, एमबीए करने का भी मेरा मन है। तो वो सारी चीज़ें कैसे इंटीग्रेट होती हैं? इफ आई एम अंडरस्टैंडिंग करेक्टली आई थिंक दिस इज व्हाट यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट मे बी कि लुक एट इट नॉट डोंट जस्ट replace Munshi ji या Munshi ji's job, but also think about what the
Why crime happens.
yeah why crime happens. So what are the larger, not necessarily problems, but the whys that you are
Yeah. Lots of
driven by,
questions. Yes.
and then also try and figure answers to that and how you can do that. Wonderful. What are your whys? What are some? Can we talk about the recent job change now that you?
Yeah, sure. So I'm joining this unicorn called Apna. So Apna is a opportunities platform. Large part of the platform comprises of blue collar jobs, blue collar workers, but also a lot of tech. So about I would say 20% tech, 75% blue collar, and the 5% is others. Uh, it's been about 5 years that Apna has been 5 years. They're valued at about $1 billion or something like that. Uh, and I think they're able to create a great impact. So I'll tell you the narrative. Okay. So the narrative that we usually have is the total population is 100, the total jobs are 90, right? The narrative that these people have is the total jobs are 90, but only 60 people are employed, right? Why are the rest 30 not employed? They say 15 of them don't know about the jobs, the other 15 are not skilled enough, right? Can we make sure that at least the 90 jobs are done? So they're not job creators. They are people who ensure that the jobs that are there at least get matched, right? So look at it from a even higher perspective. You're looking at 100 people, 60 employed, right? So you can either create more jobs where you have 90 jobs, so you can go up by 10, or you can go from 60 to 90 without having to create more jobs, and you create jobs in parallel, right?
Yeah.
So they are actually increasing efficiency in the system to ensure that the other folks get hired, other folks get employed.
इंटरेस्टिंग विजन टू ऑल्सो हैव भी बात तो सही है कि अवेयरनेस का एक बहुत बड़ा गैप है और सेकेंडली जो स्किल वाला गैप है वो भी इसमें बड़ा अच्छे से आ रहा है. वंडरफुल. हाउ डू यू evaluate that change? Why what drove you to say yes?
I think the founder. So Nirmit and I are connected by this one common friend of ours, and I had met Nirmit earlier. So we were actually in Davos in 2023 Jan, and I think we were never formally introduced, but I think we had met each other at that point. We met each other again, and I would have actually joined a big tech firm by this time, and I was very close to actually taking a decision there, and I met Nirbit, and uh, I don't know, he's just this person who's full of energy, who's full of positivity, and who's ready to play on with new ideas. I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody, but big tech is not as fast, right? And Nirmit was just very, very fast with that. And I reached out to the common friend also. He said, this sounds like a great opportunity. He's a good person. That's what I know. I heard Nirmit talk to his mother. He was very polite, very kind. I was like, this sounds like a good thing. I think it was more like, just like
Wow.
that. I was like, this sounds good.
ये बड़ा अच्छा parameter that's also very important in terms of how the human who you're going to work for is.
Yeah, see, so this is a leadership sort of a position, right? At this position, I will be spending a good 4 hours of my day with this team, right? Maybe not everybody, but one person or the other, right? If I despise these people, if I don't have nobody can have the same values, but if I don't have similar values, if they don't respect the same sort of things in their lives, they will never be able to understand why I respect that, right? So, for example, when the French and Indians work together, right, there are a lot of problems. Now, why are there a lot of problems? Because one, the French don't interfere in each other's lives, right? The Indian employees of a French manager always think he is too distant. He is not interested. He doesn't know my children's name. In India, we do know each other's children's, mothers, families, brothers, everybody's name, right? The French don't talk about work during lunch break, right? In India, we build professional and personal relationships over food, over tea.
Yeah.
If two professionals, at least my limited understanding, I don't represent the entire country. If two professionals in Delhi, in my circle, are meeting for lunch, they are definitely discussing work. They are definitely going to, of course, they'll talk about pleasantries, but they look at, oh, I have this problem, I have this opportunity, I want your advice, I want your support, I need this help, and they'll just help each other out, right? So I think if you don't have some commonality in your values, how will they understand what you're working towards and what they're working towards? It becomes very hard.
Bang on, bang on. I mean, that's some uh perspective which will only, I think it'll come with experiencing that.
So it
Because मैं
actually
भी
came with my wife. She's the one who's smart about these things. So yeah, maybe experience. Yeah, sure.
ठीक है, जेन्युइन आंसर हम उसको शुगर कोट नहीं करेंगे। वाइफ से आया तो वाइफ से आया, एक्सपीरियंस नहीं है। ठीक है। Initially in the conversation, before the camera, we were discussing that you're great at one to many.
Yeah.
Right. Give me a great experience you've had, you know, teaching something to a crowd, telling something to a crowd, and has that taught you something different about yourself? I don't know. Very meta question.
Yeah, so again, my wife tells me I'm not mature enough to understand myself as well. But has it taught me? Yes, a lot. A lot. So for example, almost every time I teach blockchain or AI or finance or entrepreneurship or public policy or any of these things to any group, right? I learn so much. I start my classes with this saying that we are all going to learn together.
Yeah.
Because if I am the one speaking and you are not going to ask, you might as well just go watch a YouTube video, yeah. Right? Like if we were not cross questioning, if we were not picking up threads,
Yeah.
then you could have given me a set of questions. I could have given you a voice note saying yes, and then this happened, right? And then that's it, right? So there's no two-way, right? I try to ensure most of my one-to-many are two-way learning sessions, right? And I have learned so much from them. There are sometimes people who will ask such basic questions. Just recently, somebody in a meeting, it was a AI meeting on the government side. Somebody said, "Can it predict?" Right now, take a moment. Don't be in a haste to answer. Right? Can it predict? And I'm like, that is such a wonderful question. Right? So I had to take a moment. I said, okay, listen, it can forecast, but it can't predict. So if you ask AI ki, what will be the weather tomorrow? It is I don't know. Very clear. If you say, okay, when will world hunger end? Or when will polio be eradicated completely from the entire world? It's not going to give you an answer, right? But if you give it, let's say, the weather pattern for the past 30 days and say forecast, it'll use linear, it'll use exponential, it'll use seasonal variation, it'll use all these. It'll give you various answers based on mathematical techniques.
Yeah.
So AI can forecast but not predict, right? Now, while I had this knowledge somewhere inside of me, I had never put it in a way that just this gentleman asked, can it predict? 3 words, but just change the way I look at it. Oh, this is what it's doing, right? So I think I've learned from every experience a lot. I learned from every experience a lot where, sometimes. So, okay, so there's this one session we're doing with the Tanzanian foreign ministry officials, right? From Tanzania, foreign ministry. They're all mid-career professionals, which means they're about 20 odd years experience, 20-25, right? Now, my jokes are not landing, right? And the jokes genuinely did not land. Like, I didn't see anybody laugh. And okay, towards the end, it was an AI thing. what we showed them was, we showed them the advanced voice mode on ChatGPT, and we said, you can actually translate between Swahili and Punjabi.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if they understood any of my Punjabi, but the moment GPT started saying something in Swahili, they all got so excited. It was amazing, right? So I learned ki, okay, for a foreign audience, you need to have content in one of their languages, or at least give them a taste so that they realize it's relevant to them and it's not somebody else's tech, somebody else's problem.
Yeah.
So I think I keep learning in every session. Every session I keep learning something.
Interesting. And when you talk about languages, I vividly remember, मतलब मैं जैसे आपको LinkedIn में follow करता हूँ, you've been very actively, sharing posts on how WhatsApp's translating, various languages, what are the challenges that they're facing. Let's broaden the question. Multilingual अभी AI जो हम कर पा रहे हैं, एक तो WhatsApp के थ्रू हो रहा है जो लोगों को काफ़ी हेल्प कर रहा है, स्केल पे करेगा, डेफिनेटली बहुत सारे लोगों से इम्पैक्ट होंगे। उसमें क्या challenges आ रहे हैं, if we could talk about that, and what's the progress been thus far?
Sure. So let me start by saying that everything in India that has to be scaled will need voice and vernacular. You'll need both, right? Everybody uses WhatsApp, but they use voice notes. People can't read. They use voice notes. They understand play, they understand stop, they understand what's happening, new message, blue tick, gray tick, double tick, single tick. I think it's a wonderful methodology. Also because, the founding team was from all over the world, so they were able to communicate in symbols, right? So India, it will have to be voice and vernacular irrespective, right? Challenges are, our dialects change every 100 miles, right? It becomes crazy to provide for that sort of a thing. One, we first have to get to all the languages, and then you go to dialects, then you go to local vernacular dialect. It becomes very, very hard. So I think that's a major challenge. I think the Bhashini platform that the government has is a major step in that direction. If you think you can speak, I don't know, Gurdaspuri Punjabi or something like that, right? You can actually go and do Bhasha Dan, which is basically you donate some of your language so that they understand, the machine understands that this is how this particular dialect, this language is being spoken, and then it learns on top of that, right? So I think Bhashani is going to be great. There is this platform called Anuvadini, which translates a lot of government content into constitutional languages of India, right? So I think that is going to be the next thing where you basically spread information in a language that you want, right? So in the next couple of months, what might happen is, for any notification that you have on the government side, you will probably have an option to choose a language and it will show it to you in your language. It will probably say it to you in your language, right? When something says it to you in your language, the impact is
Nothing like
completely
that.
different. It's completely different, right? Some of these phones have real-time translation. I think real-time translation is great. You're no longer dependent on human translators. You're no longer dependent on a human in the loop. You can turn on any channel and you can choose any language and you're there. So I think that is going to empower a lot of people. So think of one approach saying, can the entire world just use Esperanto or one of the languages, right? Versus let everybody speak in a different language. You speak in a different language, I speak in a different language, but there is a connector that connects whatever I am saying to what you can understand, right? So you suddenly have that fish that can speak all languages,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter what dialect you're using. So I think that is going to bring us all together in a very different way.
Wow. Fab. What is that? Again, taking that in, मैं पूछने लगा था कि वो स्टार्टअप्स के लिए कैसे इम्पैक्ट करता है, लेकिन आप अपना जा रहे हो. How do you think that impacts Apna? You're at scale, you're impacting people who are looking for opportunities in 28, 29 states, in 750 districts. So what is that? I mean, it's a question that maybe you would have thought of, or you would be thinking, or you
How
wouldn't think
AI
of
will impact?
how AI will
Can we
impact.
get more water?
Yes, please, we can.
Ah. So how AI impacts? So I think one is they've created this thing. I think it's some assistant. There's a name that I'm forgetting. Sorry, but they've created this thing. What that does is, the regular HR process is now automated using AI. So, for example, you had a person who would call. Let's say a person would call me saying, "Ki Dr. Preet, I am from so and so company. I want to do a fit check call. I'll be like, yeah, Ravi, I'm really busy, right? They'll call me again. I'll disconnect, right? A human cannot make more than X number of calls and maybe more than X by 3 number of calls to the same person.
Yeah.
Now, what a machine can do is a machine can call many people at the same time, as many times as they want. And if the machine can talk and do the basic fit check, ki, hi, are you interested? Do you know about the role? Is this your salary? Is this your name? Are you based in Delhi? Do you know this is a work from home position or remote position or office position? It's a 6 days a week, 3 days a week, 5 days a week, full time position. You get this. Are you sure this is good? You then push it forward. So then the time of your HR team gets reduced, right? So I think one of the solutions that Apna has built is around this.
Nice.
I think another thing that they do is they enable a lot of languages. I'm also pushing them. Can we have a voice and vernacular based registration for candidates, right? I could be an agricultural labor, right? Can I just say कि I know this, मैंने इस खेत में इस दिन से इस दिन काम किया है, ये किया है. Can it automatically create that profile for me? So I think that is something that I'll be at least pushing these people to make. I'm sure they'll do something about it.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
गरम करके ना That's very interesting. आपकी एक तो जर्नी भी it's been very interesting. You've been making interesting career choices. I would say that.
I haven't really made many choices. A lot of things have just happened.
But if you put it that way, yes. But I think the career ahead or the year ahead for you again looks interesting because of the as you mentioned, the people that you found. Again, you have a vision in terms of what you're wanting to do, which is a different setup than what you were in. Like now, you'll be working in a firm that's at scale and not with, say, a lot many government officials, but that may pose a lot of different challenges. So, um, what is your 2025 looking like?
I have no clue. I have no idea.
Foolish question to ask.
No, I don't know. I think I'll learn a lot more about this firm, these people, these opportunities. I think I'm really excited to know a lot more about how India works. I know a little about how policy works, but they have about 60 million people on the platform, right? That's huge, right? How do these people work? How do these people interact, right? 6 crore people is huge, right?
2.5% of the population.
That's a lot, right? So I think I'm looking forward to learning a lot from there. What are the challenges? What are the sort of jobs? How do we support employment? How do we support India? Right. So I think I am very keen on that front. I'm very keen on that front. More on the learning front. I do hope to improve golf a little, but I'm unsure on that.
Where do you play golf?
Mostly DGC or Karma. Kutub.
Nice. How long it's been?
Yeah, I've been playing for a very long time. I started in 2010 maybe, but then didn't play for 3 years, played for a year. 2024, I started being more regular. It's also a great way to meet people. It's a wonderful place.
Yeah.
I think it's a wonderful place that way.
Super cool. If you want to leave a message in terms of what, given your tenure with Invest India and working with AI in government, what should someone as an individual expect? जैसे मैं गवर्नमेंट से इंटरेक्ट करता हूँ, से जैसे आपने IRCTC की बात कही, what to expect coming years, the way we are interacting with the government, not on the internal processes side, the way it's being more efficient, but from a citizen lens, what can we expect? And just some parting notes.
I think a lot more citizen services
Hmm.
delivered to you in the way you want, plus proactively. So now, what my limited knowledge of this government, what they are trying is, can we ensure that people actually get the benefits that we've budgeted for them, right? So that is a big thing. Of course, they've got Bhashini, they've got AI. So what that will do is that will make sure that you get the relevant information and the opportunity to get those benefits, so that saturates the entire beneficiary pool. The other thing is, I would expect everybody to use AI. Yeah? Use a lot of AI. Please tinker with AI. Please try it out for what you want. Please see what you can get it to do. So this is the worst this technology will ever be, and this is the costliest it will ever
Ever
be,
be.
which means it will get cheaper and better, right? Um, about 25 years ago, there was a time when computers came in. Okay. And there were two sets of people. One who said, I don't want to use all this. And one side that said, okay, let me see what this stupid box is about, right? These people are probably 60 now, 60, 65 somewhere, right? These people would still be probably having their own haath parchi and keep doing their bai khata wala kaam.
Yeah.
The other set will be completely digitized. They will probably have SAP or some ERP system, RAM or something, Ramco or something. They would have a very digitized way. They would have electronic systems and everything, right? I don't know if both of them are happy or not. So happiness is separate, right? But in terms of where they are financially, socially, I think the difference is very stark, right? Now, 30 years later, we'll all be 60.
Mm.
Where do you want to be? I think AI is that fork in the road again, where you can survive without it. People still survive without computers. People still survive without a lot of usage of smartphone. The WhatsApp hata do. People don't use internet as much. People don't use Google as much, right? AI is going to be a very similar fork where are you going to be on the side that is very high AI, so everything is automated? Are you going to be on the non-AI side? Happiness is still with you, but economically it will make a lot of difference.
Fab. I remember on this note, just before we leave, I don't remember which book this is from, but there's an idea that comes in, say, the computers, and they dissect the population in four parts. A is innovators, which is say 5%. Then there are early adopters, which is say again 10-15%. And then there's people who adopt very late after they see that yes, this is producing tangible results. And D is who never would adopt. So the message that I'm probably trying to give across is that innovators, probably their roles are very high risk. Very few people who go all in with AI, say. But I think it's a good bucket to be in if you are an early adopter of the technology. You've seen little tangible success. You're not sure in terms of how large this can potentially be, but it is always in your interest to be an early adopter to that technology and at least try and tinker with it, as you said, and
Yeah,
explore कि आप उससे क्या कर सकते हो. So I think that's a
definitely.
great message
Definitely.
to leave people with. And anything else you want to say to the audience?
I'm good.
Thank you so much for being here, people. I think जो दो तीन की messages रहे हैं वो आपने भी note करे होंगे, मैंने तो अपने पास note करे ही हैं. And whatever you've learned from this conversation, let the major takeaway be that tinker with AI and see how it can help, and not just restrict it to the tactical tasks, but take it also ask higher end questions to AI and how it can then change the way that you're thinking, right? Not just limited to, as I said, tactical things. And yes, we'll see you in another one. Thank you.